Bienvenidos. Welcome to Latino Focus, the show that honors the presence of the Latino community here in San Jose. Today in our show, we've invited Daryl Cortez to talk about the program Shop with a Cop. And later, flavors from Colombia, represented by Miloa's Bakery. Also, we'll learn about Brazilian drumming and the dancing through the School of Arts and Culture. And to open the show, here it is, Brazilian drumming group Boloco del Sol with head leader Jimmy Viala. Adelante. Thank you again to Boloco del Sol. More on them in our art segment, but for now, let's welcome Daryl Cortez from Shop with a Cop. Daryl, thank you for being here today with us.
Well, thank you, Javier. It's a pleasure to be here.
tell us what Shop with the Cop, what their mission is and their goals of the organization.
I'm the executive director with the Shop with the Cop Foundation of Silicon Valley, and our mission is to provide charitable relief for children in need and those who have lost a parent due to domestic violence and are in traumatic crisis as a result of losing a parent. And so we host 2 events each year. One is in July for back to school with backpacks and supplies, and the other one is our signature event, which is called Heroes and Helpers Holiday Shopping Spree.
So how are the students selected to be part of the program?
Well, right now we're collaborating with Santee Elementary School in the Franklin-McKinley School District, and we have our Leaders campaign, and we're targeting 6th graders where they are given a baseline test at the beginning of the school year, then tested mid-season, then towards the December month, right before the holiday shopping spree, those students who have shown proficiency in the reading levels at grade or above the grade level, then those students are awarded the $125 Target gift card to go on the shopping spree, but we also award them for perfect attendance as well. Our goal is to impress upon the students the importance of reading, to enjoy reading, and to close the achievement gap in what might be a low-performing school.
How is it like? What's that experience for those students who some have come from homes where single-family parent homes, or they've suffered a traumatic crisis? How is that experience when they're there at the store shopping? What is it like for them?
Well, it's very fulfilling for me as the director, watching these children enjoy themselves during the holidays, because this bifurcated economy really has an impact on communities of color, and especially the poor in low-income areas. So what we do is try to get them to come out, enjoy a festive day with police officers in uniform, sports celebrities, and a lot of volunteers to make this a joyous holiday season. Nothing gives us more joy to pair up the police officer and the child to be escorted through the store so they can purchase holiday gifts for themselves and their families. And it's about bridging the gap, if you will. It's about changing attitudes and perceptions and stereotypes that children and families may have towards the police officers, especially in communities of color, where sometimes we're seen as the oppressors and the intimidators in the community. We're trying to break that barrier, and more importantly, it's children who have positive relationships or contacts with police officers in their communities are less likely to get in trouble, or more likely to call out for a police officer in times of need. So it's a win-win for everybody. And we need the corporate support, we need private donor support, and that's how we sustain as a nonprofit, so we can do these events out in the community.
Daryl, I know that you're a retired police officer from the San Jose Police Department. You've dedicated more than 2 decades to the police department, and now you're very involved in the community. Can you share some of your experiences as a police officer when you were engaging with the community, what that experience was?
Well, it's always been a passion of mine, whether I wore the uniform or I was out of uniform, to be engaged in the community. This was taught to me by my parents, who were actively engaged in their community, and I watched them. I emulated what they did as I grew older to give back, and this is what I instill on my own children. So as a police officer, I saw a lot of good in people. I saw a lot of despair out there, and especially when it came to children suffering and homeless and not enough clothing, single parents struggling each and every day, trying to get that child to focus on his education or his or her education, and to do good and stay out of trouble. And so part of our philosophy in our nonprofit is almost like crime prevention. You know, we're getting these students to come on with us to get an education, to stay focused in school, to attend school every day, and reward them with something positive at the end of their reading assignments, so they can go out there and partner up with the police officers. And the other thing I want to point out, the police officers get great joy out of interacting with these families and partnering with this child, because we're looked at as positive role models for these children. Maybe one day these students might want to be a police officers. We have the female police officers there, we have male police officers there, and the interaction, you see that. And when these children's eyes just, are out there bright-eyed and smiles in their faces, and then that says it all, and that's rewarding enough for us. And it's not uncommon for the police officers to also reach into their own pockets when sometimes the student goes over their budget of the $125 gift card, and the officers will pay for the extra items. And so that gives everybody a great joy, and it's a great feeling when we do this event.
If someone would like to volunteer or donate to the organization, what can they do to help your cause?
We have a website, and that is www.shopwiththecopsv.org, and they can pay through PayPal or mail a check directly to our P.O. Box, which is 8003, San Jose, California, 95155.
So Daryl, thank you very much for the work that you do in the community, your volunteers, the police officers. It definitely does a tremendous positive impact in the lives of these youth. Hopefully we'll be able to save in every of those youth so that they can succeed and be positive role models in the future to future generations to come.
Well, thank you very much. And one last thing is we don't like to think of it as charity or an economic Band-Aid. It's making a human investment at one child at a time.
Daryl, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
There you have it. And later, delicious flavors from Colombia, brought to us from Miloa's Bakery. But first, let's learn more about our money with financial expert Marcos Lita.
I'm Marcos Lita, a certified financial planner, and today I'm excited to talk about how to invest for retirement. Have you heard of the 100 minus your age strategy? It is often recommended that you subtract your age from 100, and that amount is invested in equities and the rest in bonds. So for example, let's say you're 30 years old. You would subtract 30 from 100, which is 7%. This amount will be invested in equities, like the stock market, and 30 would be invested in conservatively, like in bonds, in CDs, or maybe cash. The key takeaway is to remember that time is your best friend. The further you are from needing the money, the more risk you can take, and therefore the greater the expected return. On the flip side, the sooner you need the money, the less risk you can take, and therefore the lower expected rate of return. Contact me on Twitter at MHLira and let me know how you are currently allocating for retirement and why you chose that allocation. This is Marcos Lita, and remember, invest in today to enjoy your dividends tomorrow.
I'm here with Miloa's Bakery to taste some flavors of Colombia. But before we start, let's learn more about the country itself.
Welcome to Colombia. While Colombia has always been home to several tribes and cultures, the country's name has varied quite a bit, even after Spanish colonization. After independence was achieved, led by Simon Bolivar, the Grand Colombia was formed, which became New Granada, and after a civil war and many other changes, the country has become known as Colombia. In 1903, Panama seceded. Colombia is considered one of the most mega-diverse countries per square kilometer. The first new carnivorous species found in 35 years can be found in Colombia. Colombia also contains 6 very distinct main natural regions and contains many breathtaking sights. Colombia also contains very beautiful artwork, such as murals by Santiago Martinez Delgado and the Vargas Swamp Lancers. Whether you go for the wealth of culture or nature, the land of El Dorado is a place to explore.
Mireya Elena Baez from Miloa's. Thank you for being here with us today.
Thank you for having us.
So tell us, how was that restaurant born?
Well, the business was born in 2012 when we just start taking classes about how to run a business. The idea, the business was born in Bogota during the deep crisis, financial crisis in 1999. Then we moved to the United States and we had the idea in our mind. But it took 9 years to make it happen.
9 years to
Yes.
get this concept going.
Exactly.
So the recipes of these amazing dishes that you've shared with us, whose recipes are they?
They're my grandmother's.
Your grandmother's?
So my dad's mother's.
Really? And so she passed that on to the family?
Yes, my dad was always very curious about cooking since a young age, and he was basically there with her in the kitchen, learning all these things. So he just picked them up, and now he's able to make all these for the family and for others.
And share it with everyone. So can you tell us a little bit about what you've brought here today to share with our viewers? What do we have right here?
Of course, those are buñuelos. Those are the some of the main treats that we have during Christmas time. But it seems that Colombians like them so much, and even other cultures have liked them so much. We're producing them weekly. At the store.
Okay, buñuelos, are they sweet or what's the taste?
So they're basically like cheese fritters. So they are a mixture of tapioca flour, corn flour, and cheese, and they are made into little balls and deep fried very quickly. And that's what you get. You get buñuelos.
Oh, interesting. So el buñuelo in Mexico is a flat tortilla-like, very flaky, and this is something different, but it has the same name, so it's interesting. And then what do we have here?
Those would be pan de yucas. The moon-shaped are pan de yucas, and the ones in front are pan de bonos. So both of those are also gluten-free, all made with tapioca flour and yuca flour. And the round one is filled with guava. So that's the difference. The other ones are only cheese, basically mixed into the dough and then baked. So that's the difference between those two. This is all deep fried, that's baked. And we can play around with the flavors by putting in some guava and giving that contrast of, savory and salty with really sweet, fruity taste.
Well, this food's really making me hungry, and saving the last dish here, and is probably the very tasty. What do we have here?
Well, we had there pastry empanadas.
Pastry empanadas.
Yes, they are very, very famous in Colombia, especially in the capital, in Bogota. We had those empanadas, and we can fill them up with different flavors.
Different flavors.
Sweet and savory ones.
Okay.
Yeah.
What kind of fillings do you normally use for your ones that you have at the bakery?
Oh, we have different flavors. We have here beef empanadas, chicken empanadas. The one that is rectangular is a mushroom and quinoa empanada. We have ham and cheese empanadas. Sausage fingers.
We call them fingers. They're like pigs in a blanket, if you will.
Okay.
So it's just a sausage, a link, and it's wrapped into the same pastry.
Exactly.
Very similar to the ones you see up in front.
Yes, those ones in front are filled with guava. Guava is a very, very famous fruit in Colombia. Mm-hmm. So we fill many things with guava because they taste very well.
Very well.
And it was with everything.
Great. I also know that your business is a green certified business. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Correct. Lina is specialized in that that issue. Yeah.
I've always been very passionate about the environment, so I really pushed my parents to get some sort of certification, not just for the certification itself, but just to do things right. So I always help them look for energy efficient appliances. We've minimized waste. So right now, the shop that we're running, we are only producing 96 gallons a week, which is tiny for a business. You will almost never find a business producing that, especially a food business producing that little amount of waste. So that's number 2. 3, we do everything in small batches, also to minimize the waste and to guarantee the freshness.
Great.
So we're always cooking every morning there. When you're still in bed, probably we're up and running, making all these treats for everyone, and they're fresh every time.
Every day.
And couple of things. Mil hojas. What's the definition of mil hojas?
Oh, mil hojas is a nice word because it means 1,000 layers. And the pastry, if you cut the pastry, you can see the different layers. And to make a pastry, though, is a very hard work. It has a lot of work. It takes a lot of time to make a very good dough. So people have liked this dough because it's so special. It's crunchy, it's
Soft, it's
Flaky.
flaky.
It's a little bit of everything without necessarily crumbling.
Falling
you know,
apart.
all over you.
Yes.
So
Well, thank you very much. And where can people find your business?
we're at the corner of Branham and Meridian
In San Jose?
in San Jose, and right across from Branham High School. So it's very
Yes.
easy to find. It's
It's in a square.
plaza, yeah.
and
Great.
Nice.
Well, thank you so much, Mireya and Lina, for joining us today and sharing this great, exquisite food with our viewers. We appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you
you.
very much. Thank you.
Have you ever want to play drums or dance like they do in Brazil? Well, we'll bring you in 2 unique classes from the School of Arts and Culture next in our Arts Alive segment. Let's go.
My passion for music started when I was very young. I started playing music when I was 7 years old, and I started playing the violin, and I enjoyed it, but I didn't take to that instrument so well. But so a friend of mine was practicing his snare drum, and I really liked that a lot. So we traded instruments, and once I started playing drums, I knew it was so much fun that I had really found something I really enjoyed a lot. Once I started studying music at university, I got exposed to all different kinds of music, including music from Cuba and music from Brazil. And so I started really taking an interest in Cuban music. I went to Cuba and studied in 1995. I was there for a little while at the University of Matanzas. And then when I got back from there, I continued my studies in Cuban percussion, but also I had started planning trips to Brazil. And then that's when, after my first trip to Brazil in 1998, my interest in the Brazilian music and Brazilian culture really took off. And then I started teaching Brazilian percussion also around that same time. There was a new director of education here at the School of Arts and Culture, and she heard that I was available to start teaching percussion classes. I was living abroad for a while. I was living in Asia, and when I moved back, she heard I was back in town, and she wanted to know if I would be interested in starting to teach classes here. And so I started teaching Cuban and Brazilian percussion here in 2011. Here in San Jose, of course, the Latino culture is so strong. And so it's very fun for me to be able to also teach a music that maybe a lot of people in the Latino community here are maybe not that familiar with, maybe not that familiar with Brazilian culture. Although most of the students here at the school are from a Latino background. And so I think people enjoy it very much, the music and the drumming. It's good energy. Bloco del Sol started here at the School of Arts and Culture, I believe, in fall of 2011. And it was an ensemble primarily composed of teachers here. So we had some interest in a drumming class that focused mostly on Brazilian percussion and a specific style. And so the teachers here were very interested in taking the class, and so we set it up as a Monday evening class. And just by word of mouth, it became quite popular. So now it's a class that's open to the community, and we have We still have teachers that are teaching here, great artists that are still part of the core group, and then we have new people coming in from the community to take our beginning level classes. I always tell people that they can come in and observe, and right away, especially with young students, they get very attracted to the drums. So once they come to the class and they look, usually there's no problem getting them to even pick up a pair of sticks and start playing right away. I don't have a hard time really convincing some. Kids aren't shy when it comes to percussion. I think it has a natural draw.
How I got interested in Brazilian culture is a very interesting coincidence where when I was studying in college in Wisconsin, Madison, Wisconsin, I had a roommate who was from Nepal, and she just happened to look like Brazilian. She happened to love Brazilian music, and she basically she was one of my best friends over there, and she just gave me a lot of Brazilian music, and then she took me to Brazilian parties and such, and then that's how I got into Brazilian music to begin with. How I evolved my initial interest in Brazilian culture into teaching is a long process, and it also took a very interesting course of life because I was very attracted when I first saw this Brazilian martial art called capoeira. And then throughout years of practicing capoeira, which is martial art, I came across also Brazilian dance because it has so much in common, and since then I never stopped, but I didn't think I would ever teach. My greatest satisfaction when I'm being with my students, teaching my students, is simply to share the joy and the energy, positive energy that comes through movement and music that Brazilian culture offers. It's so uplifting. Then when I really feel that students are enjoying that energy of Brazilian culture, Brazilian rhythms, Brazilian dance, I love it.
Thank you to our audience for supporting Latino Focus. That's all for our show today. And remember that in each community, there's beauty and strength. Gracias y hasta pronto.